Hi everyone, Hannah here again from the Allotment for Life plot, and just wanted to talk to you about a few things that's been going on over the weekend and where I'm up to with all the weeds. A bit of reality for you in this vlog. But first off, my last vlog was extensively about tomato blight and potato blight, or what is also known as late blight. Though we have seen a lot of early onset of it this summer already. A lot of growers are seeing it, and it's devastating because it's so early, not even any ripe tomatoes yet for a lot of people. Anyway, we were predicted a lot of rain here over the weekend, never materialized. So where I am outside Oxford is very often in like a rain shadow, and things sort of just skirt around us. That's why it's quite dry here. We still have supposedly underground springs here, so it still grows okay, even though I have no access to water. But yes, no blight here, because I guess we didn't have that wet weather, you know, that they were saying was going to come. We haven't had rain until today, which is now Tuesday, right? We've had a few showers on and off in the afternoon, but nothing too heavy, not enough to fill up my water butts from the greenhouses or anything like that, but enough that I don't have to maybe water my newly planted out lettuce seedlings. So good news, and bad news, I guess, not enough rain. We can never be completely happy though as growers, right? But things are still growing very well, including all the bindweed, and it is getting on top of me. I'll show you the bad bits. So first of all, maybe we can appreciate how amazing the summer raspberries are growing this year. So I think next year will be a bumper crop. There's a few fruit this year, but last year's growth was so abysmal. This year is like twice the size, and I think it's because of the mulching I did this winter. It was in one of my vlogs. I put bloodfish and bone and chicken pellets, and then compost mulch on top of that, and it's obviously done really well. And I did that because I read that raspberries, if they have poor growth, that you should add those additives here. As you can see, we've also got bindweed growing all the way up it, and yeah, it is so bad that it's becoming difficult to pick, and I really need to sort that out. But yeah, it is pretty tall. It's as tall as me, really, and it's looking absolutely divine. So the little raindrops are sitting on the leaves, and it's looking really nice, though the camera's obviously not picking that up. The autumn fruiting I weeded this week, and it's looking so much better. They are now in their second year, and all of them bar 2 plants survived. Not sure why they didn't make it, but oh yeah, so I'm sure the other ones will spread out and fill in this gap, so I'm not so worried about it. But I do really need to sort that out ASAP. But I have been concentrating on the space over here instead. So this area that I'm walking up to now, I made last year, and I made it with topsoil that we were digging out of our garden and dumping on the plot because it needed to go somewhere. And I used it to make this no-dig area. However, the problem is that, you know, this topsoil had bindweed in it, so it sort of made, and you know, it sort of made it a little bit worse. It's still better than it was, as in it's better for growing in, but prior to this, I'll switch you around. Prior to this being 4 beds with paths in between, it was sort of like just like mini beds, like 9 of them or whatever, with lots of grass between, and you just couldn't grow anything in it. Now it works really well. The plants love growing in here. This is where all the garlic was, and you know, things are doing really well. I've just weeded in this brassica cage here, but this is sort of what it looked like, this bindweed carpet, right? And all the way here. I've cleared it though because I planted out the lettuce now. This is the last of the straggly little broad beans. Need to harvest those. I don't know who's eating the leaves, but at least they're leaving the beans, so that's okay. But yeah, no, I'm not super happy about this. So the whole idea with no dig is that you can get rid of perennial weeds by the no dig method, but you need to be on it. You need to remove as much of the root of the perennial weed as possible as soon as it comes up. Unless you're mulching with plastic for like 12 months, you're not going to kill things like bindweed, because it's just so vigorous, and especially if you have it growing in your grass surrounding your bed. And it's just, I just don't have the time for it, and I've sort of taught myself not to worry too much about it. This always next year, and I can try to get on top of it then. But the whole idea is that you keep weakening it, not letting the plant develop leaves to pull down energy into the root, and over time you'll supposedly see a difference after 3 years, and then after 5 years is almost all of it gone, including bindweed. But yeah, that's the key thing, is so that you have to keep on top of it, and I just haven't been able to this year for many reasons. And now that it's opening up again in the UK, the restrictions that we've had, it's becoming, you know, people are having a social life, including me, and yeah, you just have to give yourself a break, I guess. And so this is me showing you how my plot is looking between weeding, which is not great. So the sun is coming on strong now. We've just had a few showers, but yeah, I thought we'd have a look at this arch here. So on this side of the arch we got Achocha growing, which is that spiky sort of squash looking thing, which apparently when cut and fried it tastes just like green peppers, and supposedly very, very vigorous, which I can already see, and also produces a lot of fruit, which is really exciting. And then on the other side I've got another squash family member, which is called Serpent of Sicily, and it is absolutely beautiful. The leaves are like velvet, and it doesn't have those scratchy stems like the other winter squash has. So if you're a person that reacts to it, I don't know if you know this, but if you scratch yourself on squashes on your arms when you're looking for fruit or you're weeding, and then you're exposed to the sun, you can actually have quite a severe reaction. It's almost like a burn on your skin, and it can take several weeks to disappear. A little bit like hogweed, which I have burns off right now. Has gone away a bit, but you know, I have a lot of hogweed, and sometimes the sap gets on you when you're like using the trimmer. Anyway, if this is an issue for you, I can recommend growing Serpent of Sicily because it doesn't have that, and you can touch it as much as you want because it's so soft and nice. But it produces those really, really long squash type fruits, a bit like tromboncino, but it's not the same variety. And you can eat them like squash early on, and I think in Sicily they make it into some sort of jam, which I just can't really picture it. But I guess if we get a lot of fruit, I might have to try it to see if I can use it up that way. I'm mainly growing it for the entertainment. I would quite like to have, you know, lots of those really long squash hanging down off the trellis, because that's sort of why you're growing stuff up vertically. Anyway, I am, you know, it's fun. I love growing squashes. It's just, they're so vigorous. And I planted these out late, so they're doing really well. I've got one as well, you might remember, growing along the ground, sorry, and that, because gravity won't help them stay straight, they'll be all sorts of funny shapes, so that'll be very, very interesting. So I grew these verbena bampton, which is like a bush variety of verbena, compared to the really tall one, and it is gorgeous, but it self-seeds like crazy, so I've got a lot of verbena bampton seedlings coming up everywhere. But in here I've got some spring sown cabbages and things. So I actually just harvested a golden acre cabbage here. It's a really good size, And I noticed when I was weeding, I've actually got a romanesco coming in here. Let's see if we can get in there. Ooh, look at that. It's beautiful. That purple tinge to that one. So the romanesco seeds are part of this mix of, like magic mix of cauliflower, really, from real seeds. I grew it, it's the second year growing it. And there's usually some romanescos in there, and there's quite a few different different coloured cauliflowers as well. So romanesco is, if you've heard of the Fibonacci spiral, the romanesco really exemplifies that. So sort of the perfect ratios that exist in nature in the pattern of the rosettes of the romanesco cauliflower or romanesco broccoli. So romanesco is sort of genetically distinct, I believe, from both cauliflower and broccoli, but the flavor's sort of somewhere in between. So some people call it a broccoli and some people call it a cauliflower. And to me, it's just a brassica, really. So I quite enjoy it. But they can be tricky to grow without them like bolting prematurely, where it starts like the head starts splitting up and producing like flowering stalks instead. So I'm gonna try to be on it this year and harvest it maybe smaller and hopefully then more tender. Wow, it's such a beautiful evening. Like, I didn't plan it. I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to film this in the rain, but it turns out yeah, it's a lovely sunset instead. Right, let's move on. So behind me in this brassica bed, I've got my Brussels sprouts for Christmas, and they had been planted out 2 weeks maybe, and this one is definitely doing the best. And yeah, as you can see, lots of bindweed coming up already, and I need to get in there and weed. So I have been watering these because they were planted out during that heat wave we had, and there really is nothing worse for seedlings like sprouts than a heat wave and no water. So I definitely prioritize that. But they were also attacked by these like miniature baby slugs, and they're so hard to see, you know. I go out quite regularly of an evening after dark and pick slugs off, but they were like, you really have to get in there and really look to see that they were like these tiny little slugs on them, like babies of the black ones with the orange rim, you know. And they have gone to town on some of them, unfortunately, but not so bad that they've died, so hopefully they will recover. And down at the bottom I've planted my leeks, actually just now at the weekend. So they are growing down here, and yeah, I mean, they're just leeks, right? So they are multisown, and they're growing under mesh, just like my poor onions over there. They're probably about ready to be harvested, and the reason for that is obviously because of allium leaf miner. So I've talked about this many times before. I've got it quite bad on my allotment, and first 2 years of growing I just didn't know what it was. It's sort of just, until I grew leeks last year, I didn't realize what it was, because I didn't see the pupae and the larvae of the fly. The fly lays eggs on the leaves, and then the grubs sort of eat their way through it and into the bulb of garlic and onions, and then it sort of spoils it. It lets in white rot. So all I saw was white rot, and I thought, oh, I got white rot really bad on my plot. But when I for the first time grew leeks last year, and the infestation is usually worse in autumn, I actually saw them, and I saw my leeks doing all sorts of curly whirly things, and that's one of the signs. So I realized, that's what it is, and that's why my garlic is so poor, and that's why my onions stop growing after a while, you know. So this year I've grown everything in the mesh, and you know, excellent garlic harvest, and so I'm doing it with the leeks now. Multisown, I thinned them to 4 seedlings per clump. And you can, as always with multisown vegetables, you can thin out one to harvest at a time when ready. Just like with your beetroots, you can harvest the big one and let the other ones grow on, or you can harvest the whole clump. And yeah, we'll see. So the onions in here are also multisown. I've had real issues with the bindweed in here, and I think I might have inadvertently broken or, you know, tipped the stems over, so they might stop growing. I'm leaving them to see if they get a bit bigger, but there's still actually some big ones in there. I planted them really late, so they're just in here. And yeah, I mean, those are shallots, banana shallots or Siberian shallots. Some of the onions are single now because their friends didn't make it. But yeah, there's two here, for example. So because some of them have fallen over, like there, I'm not sure that they're gonna grow anymore. And it's not, you know, they didn't fall over, right? I broke them basically because I was weeding the bindweed too vigorously, which is not great. So the allium leaf miner has 2 periods of activity, in spring and then in autumn. So I really could probably leave the mesh off. I'm just too paranoid, you know. Oh, and here's the hogweed. It's lovely, it's right behind me. Next to the onions are the 2 towers of sweet peas, and they are getting very, very yellow at the bottom. But I cleaned off all the flowers and all the seed pods, because I noticed there was just so many aphids, right? And I thought because they have now been struggling because it's been so dry, and aphids move in when a plant is either producing a lot of soft growth or when it's struggling, you know. So I'm hoping for rain so that they will come back in another flush of flowers, but we'll see. And then below here are my outdoor cucumbers, and they were in pots for so long, so they are growing. This one got eaten by slugs, but I will see if I get any cucumbers outdoors this year. Yeah, but just looking at that view, you know, it's lovely. But yeah, so that's where my my bindweed area is at the moment. I'm having it up to here all the time. It's always somewhere that is really, really, really bad for it. But there's good news, right? There's no blight here, though we'll see now with the rain that we're having whether we'll still be avoiding it. I'm just going into the tomato house now, and I just wanted to show you the garlic I've plated up. This is great. I mean, I just had a great garlic year this year. So I've cracked the alliums. I just haven't cracked the bindweed. And the tomatoes, I think, are finally changing color. Can you see that? It's slightly more orange. So this is the Sun Gold. And I think on the Sun Viva, this one is a slightly more yellowy color. And whoop, can you spot it? On the Galena, same thing's happening. This one is going more yellow. So yeah, and actually on the Blue Bio, they're getting darker by the second. So apparently I was reading about Blue Bio. They will be ready when the bottom turns red, I guess, or the last green is gone. So, but apparently how it works is the pigment comes from where it's been exposed to the sun. So that's why it starts on one side, because that's where the sun is hitting it, right? So it's anywhere where the sun hits the fruit, it will turn blue. And apparently that could also happen to the leaves, and I can see it happening to the stem a bit, but nothing on my leaves anyway. But yes, this is my tomato jungle, and we have one monster that is almost at the top. That's the Sun Viva. So it's a very, very vigorous grower, but that's what we like to hear, isn't it? But anyway, short and sweet today, and look how sad Kong is. Yeah, not happy with this no rain, and then we'll see, hopefully it'll perk up. Or maybe it's done, I don't know. Do they get second heads? Kong sunflowers? I don't know. Maybe I'll have to try save seeds from it this year and grow it next year. But yes, I will see you next week, and hopefully I'll have a lot more to talk about.